Ladies and gentlemen, look like there's a case of blue flu going on in Atlanta. Police call out of work in wake of charges. And this is stemming from the recent shooting of Rashard Brooks in Atlanta. So this is Al Jazeera, June 18th, 2020. The police department in the United States city of Atlanta reassured residents on Thursday that it can still protect the city even though officers are calling out in large numbers than normal, a day after prosecutors charge a member of the force with murder for the shooting of a man in his back. Prosecutors brought felony murder and other charges against the white officer who shot Rashard Brooks. Do you know his stepmother, um, of the officer that got charged? She got fired from her job, his stepmother. So, back to this, saying Brooke was not a deadly threat and that the officer kicked the wounded man and offered no medical treatment for more than 2 minutes as he lay dying on the ground. Another officer is being charged with aggravated assault. Hours later, the Atlanta Police Department tweeted late on Wednesday that it had more officers calling out than normal, but that it had enough resources to maintain operations and remain able to respond to incidents. The Atlanta Police Department is able to respond effectively to 911 calls. Please don't hesitate to call if you have an emergency. The department tweeted Thursday, yeah, you call and have an emergency, you may end up dead. The person calling may end up dead. That's how crazy these folks are. Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms, who has issued orders calling for reforms in policing, also insisted that the department would be able to operate effectively despite the callouts, and said many of the department partner agencies had been notified in case they needed to call in others. If we have officers that don't want bad officers weeded out of the force, then that's another conversation we need to have, Bottom said on CNN. The decision to prosecute the officers came less than 5 days after the killing rocked a city and nation already roiled by the death of George Floyd after more than 8 minutes under an officer's knee in Minneapolis late last month. Yeah. Well, all of this over one officer. Floyd's death set off nationwide protests that have urged an extensive rethinking of policing and examination of racism in the US. Police in New York City may be trying to go on an official strike on July 4th, US Independence Day, according to the New York Post paper. It said flyers and text messages circulating among officers is encouraging them to call in sick or request an ambulance to take them home from work if they don't show up. Rashard Brooks' funeral is set for Tuesday at Atlanta's historic Ebenezer Baptist Church. That's Dr. Martin Luther King's church. I've been in that church before on a tour years ago when we had a family reunion there. Tyler Perry, the actor and filmmaker, has offered to financially help for the services, officials said in announcing the funeral. Police were called to a Wendy's late last week about the complaints of a car blocking the drive-through lane. The officers found Brooks asleep behind the wheel, and, he failed a breathalyzer test, and we all know what happened. Okay, so Officer Garrett Rolfe shot Brooks after a 27-year-old grabbed his taser and ran. And, when you saw it, you clearly saw Brooks was running far ahead of the officer. I guess if you don't feel like chasing a suspect, you just shoot him down, right? All right. So, a lawyer for the two witnesses said Thursday that the shooting could have been avoided and that the officers need to be held accountable. As the video shows, this could have been avoided by just letting him run away, give him another day. But instead, a family has lost a father, a loved one, a friend. The lawyer, Sean Williams, said at a Thursday news conference, this community has lost a man. So, well, I did see that the officer, Devin Brumnan, has made a court appearance where he was charged. Okay, he was charged with murder. So, this is not the only strike. I've heard of other locations around the country where officers are calling out. But let me kindly remind you this happened up in New York City when protesting was heavy at one time and the cops called out, and the areas that they were patrolling, the crime actually dropped when the cops stopped patrolling. So the crime going up is not necessarily a given. It sure didn't happen in that case. And please go look it up. Don't come over here talking about, I never heard of that. Do some research. It's out there. All right. So the felony murder charges against Rolfe, who's 27, carries a life in prison sentence or the death penalty. But prosecutor Harold told CNN on Thursday that he would not seek it. Rolfe was also charged with 10 other offenses punishable by decades behind bars. Mm-mm-mm. Wow. So, of course, he has an attorney, and his attorney is doing what you would expect, saying his charges are baseless and all that stuff. So, a new poll by the Associated Press said that the public affairs research say more Americans today than 5 years ago believe police brutality is a very serious problem that often goes undisciplined, unequally targets Black Americans. In the Minneapolis case, Derek Chauvin, the officer who put his knee on Floyd's neck for several minutes, has been charged with murder. 3 other officers have been charged with aiding and abetting. All 4 were fired. Well, one did get out. I think the one by the name of Thomas Lane, he did make it out of prison. But, ladies and gentlemen, please tell me what you think. Officers are now butt sore that one of their own is being charged, and now they are calling out in large numbers. You heard New York City claim they are going to do a strike um, on the 4th of July, and I'm sure it's going to be more police departments. I mean, that's how these folks operate. They all operate under one mind. So, ladies and gentlemen, please tell me what you think about this story. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace, family.